Bonjour à tous, ici Jerry Rochon de retour pour une petite chronique Drette. C'est un plaisir de venir parler avec les gars. Je parlais récemment d'ailleurs de Ken Drette, qui est extrêmement sympathique, qui me contait comment il s'ennuie énormément du Salon des métiers d'art de Montréal. Peu de gens savent ça, mais Ken est un grand amateur de vin soufflé. Ce qui n'est pas sans rappeler la conversation que j'ai avec Scott Niedermeyer. Il me parlait qu'il s'ennuie énormément de la programmation du Festival Montréal en Lumière. C'est des gars passionnés, c'est des gars très intenses. Finalement, qui je pourrais vous compter? Oui, Hayley Wickenheiser, une grande femme. Peut-être la Lady Di du hockey. Peut-être sans la portion accident tragique de voiture puis la mort. Peut-être. Mais également, je terminais peut-être avec une anecdote sur Eddie Shore. Qui est un gars avec qui j'avais une belle rivalité, avec lui puis Elmer Lack. C'est des gars pour qui je m'étais déjà battu dans une ruelle pour cause de vol de POG. Les gars avaient tenté de me subtiliser mes POG, c'est quelque chose qui ne se fait pas. Et puis il y avait une bataille, puis je me suis dit dans le coin de Atwater, à peu près, pas loin de l'ancien forum. Et donc voilà. Donc tout pour dire, des gars extrêmement sympathiques.
Merci, Jerry. Jerry qui avait insisté pour venir vous parler aujourd'hui. C'est toujours un plaisir de le recevoir. En direct du paradis. Donc, Jerry Rochon, mesdames et messieurs. Jerry. Aujourd'hui, un épisode que peut-être vous avez reconnu en ce nom, Pavel Barber, qui n'est pas son vrai nom, Pavel. C'est en honneur de son idole Pavel Datsyuk. Vous allez apprendre dans le podcast quel est le vrai nom de ce jeune Ontarien début trentaine, qui est Pavel Barber, que vous connaissez probablement des réseaux sociaux comme moi. C'est un gars qui a un œil très fascinant pour le hockey. Je te dirais que c'est un pédagogue du stick handling et des skills en général. On peut le suivre sur YouTube, ses comptes Instagram. Moi, je suis plus sur Instagram. C'est Hey Barber, son compte personnel, qui a au-dessus de 600 000 abonnés, et Pavel Barber Training, qui sont ces vidéos vraiment spécifiques qui décortiquent des jeux comme toi cette semaine. Au moment d'enregistrer, il décortiquait le but de Tyler Toffoli contre les Sens, ou des petites manœuvres où tu te rends compte que dans le fond, son but contre quand il a déjoué Brandstrom, c'était pas si banal, il a tassé. Il y a comme un move où tu laisses la rondelle de côté et tu tasses le bâton du défenseur pour... En tout cas, bref. Ça, c'est tous des petits détails. Il dissèque les tirs de shootout. Il dissèque beaucoup de Patrick Kane. C'est vraiment au niveau technique, des fois, de regarder ça. Puis ce qui est vraiment cool, c'est qu'après ça, tu peux aller à Passion et l'essayer et te faire croire que tu vas être aussi bon. Non, mais pour vrai, intégrer des trucs à la game, et ça c'est franchement fascinant. C'est un gars avec qui j'essaie de rentrer en contact depuis un certain temps, et puis finalement ça s'est passé, et puis c'est un gars très très sympathique, très gentil, très généreux, avec qui on a fait un podcast de plus qu'une heure et quart, où on a vraiment couvert l'ensemble de son parcours, alors qu'il y a, on dit ça souvent dans la vie, comme faut créer sa niche, faut créer son... C'est comme oui, mais en même temps, les comptables ne créent pas leur niche. Là, il y a un métier qui existe déjà. Mais lui a vraiment profité de l'ascension un peu des réseaux sociaux pour vraiment créer créer une job, dans le fond, qui n'existait pas vraiment avant. Donc, très, très cool. Puis vraiment, vraiment sympathique gars. D'ailleurs, il était passé à Montréal l'été dernier, pas pandémique, mais l'autre d'avant, faire des camps, puis j'avais essayé de le contacter justement à ce moment-là, puis je pense que c'était tombé dans une craque, mais c'est un gars qui fait aussi des camps avec des jeunes un peu partout, et qui travaille aussi avec des gars de la Ligue nationale, des Jake Virtanen, des Jonathan Taves, qui est là en ce moment, est sur la liste des blessés, mais qui en fait qui a pas joué cette année parce qu'il est comme on sait pas qu'est-ce qu'il a fait. Bon, et là je digresse, peu importe. Donc voilà, donc c'est un gars qui travaille quand même avec des gars de la NHL. Tous les gars de la NHL savent qui est Pavel Barber. Il y a deux choses en commun. Les gars de la NHL écoutent Spin Chicklets puis ils savent qui est Pavel Barber. Donc voilà, on parle de tout ça avec lui, qui est en fait un gars de hockey de gazon. Ça, c'est quand même assez drôle. Voilà. Je pense... Ah oui, c'est ça. Il fallait que je dise quand je l'ai rencontré. Je l'ai rencontré 13 novembre 2020. Donc, c'est pour ça que là, des fois, il y a vous allez entendre les petits d'un enregistrement Zoom parce que on n'avait pas encore le système autant à point qu'en ce moment. Donc, des fois, les petits pendant une phrase, c'est gracieuseté de Zoom ou de mon mauvais Internet. Donc, 13 novembre 2020, Pavel Barber. Quoi? Oh, excusez, il y a Jerry qui voulait vous dire un petit mot juste avant qu'on aille à l'épisode.
Je vous rappelle, si vous écoutez Drette, vous aimez ce que les gars font, allez sur Patreon, OK? Puis, il y a des rabais, tu peux avoir 5% si tu t'abonnes annuellement, OK? C'est un deal, c'est du Costco rendu là. Et puis c'est vraiment, c'est juste des gars qui travaillent fort, c'est des producers Tom pis David, c'est des pauvres petits gars, puis c'est des gars qui ont des produits de qualité avec une certaine constance, j'ose croire. Et puis donc, c'est ça. Donc, alors, je vous encourage, allez, Drette, tu t'abonnes annuellement, t'as un rabais de 5%, puis je vous rappelle que c'est des gars extrêmement sympathiques.
Merci, Jerry. Alors, on va aller à l'épisode et c'est Pavel Barber qui est adressé sur le tape. Le voici. Pavel Barber.
Drette sur le tape. Avec David Beaucage.
So after a few months of emailing and back and forth, here is Pavel Barber we've been wanting to have on for years now, and who's very well known from hockey communities. Even though you only speak French, you do know Pavel Barber because you do follow him on Instagram. Pavel, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to be on the podcast.
Well, good to have you on, man. Honestly, it's been a while, and actually, I think you even came to Montreal like last summer or something.
I was there last summer doing a hockey camp there.
Cool.
In Laval.
And the Laval Beach, of course, was North Shore of Montreal. How did you enjoy your Montreal time?
I loved it. Yeah, it's a great city. You know, just I was kind of in the hotel and then in the rink and then back, but I definitely made some time to see the city during the tail end of it. And I've been there a few times before, so always loved Montreal. It's a great city.
It's like a musician on tour. You go to your gig, you come back to the hotel, and then you leave. And next thing
exactly. And I've started to make time now to actually like see the cities because I realized I was doing all this traveling, but it was like I never really see the city. So I'll always like maybe book an extra day or arrive early just to make sure and just see everything I can with the time I got.
Where did your job lead you? Like places you never thought you'd go, or you didn't think there would be hockey there? Where did you go? Like craziest places?
Well, probably Japan. I mean, the craziest one that you don't think there's much hockey there or whatever. Japan, been to Thailand, been to Malaysia, been to Manila, like
Malaysia.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Crazy. Like you never think they have hockey there, and when you do go to the rinks, it's like the warmest climate ever. The fog's so bad that when you're on the goal line, you can't see past the blue line. It's unbelievable. It's like out of a movie. It's like someone had a fog machine and just blew it all over the rink. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me of like the 70s Broad Street Bullies game, you know, like with
exactly.
The goalies can see the puck, or it's like a high school dance, you know, like with the fog.
That's it. That's exactly it, man. It was wild, but a good time. Ice conditions were pretty bad, but you know they're doing what they got with what they have, right? So
for sure,
that's good to see.
Is it while you were in Japan that you actually met the youngster Aito Iguchi, the guy you did a video with?
Yeah. So I knew him well before that, probably 4 years prior to that. I was just working online with him primarily, and then he came to Vancouver a few times in between. And he was basically like, come out to Vancouver, we'll get a bunch of guys. So I worked with his school team, him personally, and then his club team the whole time I was there.
Because back then you were based in Vancouver, whereas now you're in Toronto. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where were you in Vancouver at the time?
It's pretty central, like right in the middle of the city, Canby Village, like 10 minutes from downtown Vancouver there. So a good spot.
Is there like a reason why you moved out west in the first place?
Yeah, I moved out there to play field hockey for Team Canada. So that was the reason. We just had to pick up and move everything in order to play nationally there. So I was 21 at the time, and it was a good opportunity, and I was pretty amped for it. So that's the only reason I moved out there in the first place, was just for that.
Right. We've a lot of people have seen the feature you did with Aito, when he was, I guess, like 13 or something like that. And now it's been like already a few years since you guys have done that video. And I guess people are wondering what's up with Aito.
Yeah, the latest thing is he did the USHL Combine a year and a half ago, performed pretty well, got drafted pretty late there, and now he's kind of in the midst of deciding where he's going to go and play and train. So I kind of just leave that up to him. I'm not very involved with the decision-making process. When they want my advice, I give it to them. So like my advice was to move here when he was 12. Right. I thought that was an appropriate age to do it. I think 15 is quite a bit too late. Right. But they're very strict on school there in Japan, and they want to make sure they get a good education, which I respect and all that. So he was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I guess, in terms of coming to North America, but he did make sure to come here and train through the spring and stuff like that, which it's not nothing. So he knows the level and he's got like a little bit of it, but I just wanted him to get used to the speed, the pace of play, decision-making skill. That stuff is tough when you're coming from a market where you have all the time and space in the world. It's very difficult to be just thrust into a type of hockey like North America where everything is quick. You're under pressure quite a bit and you have to find creative solutions before they happen. So, but you know what? It's good that he's pursuing it.
Of course. And because I was told, I think like last year he came to I was told last year he was actually playing in the USHL, and then at this very last second he backed out and went back to Japan. So yeah.
I think he, just for development, I think he was thinking he needed another year or something like that. But again, that's something that's funny. Like people think I'm heavily involved with that stuff. But for me, it's just if they need advice, they know where to find me. I give them the advice. And other than that, ball's in their court. They do what they think is right with development. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you, what do you like? Because you've seen him play like more than we have, and you've seen him, I guess, over the years. And what do you think he projects to be, like a college player, a pro player? What do you see for him?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, to be honest, it's like obviously making a pro for anybody is very, very low percentage. I'm never going to say to anyone, you're never going to be a pro player. There's stories out there that shock the hell out of you, right? With how good people get. For him, I think a very good route to take would be to go to college, and then just see where it pans out from there. I think the extra years of development are required for someone who's not used to this level of hockey. So maybe playing, college an extra, 3, maybe even the full 4 years there, could be good for him. And then he comes out of that and thinks about where he is development wise and what leagues he can actually go to from there. But
and how tall is he right now?
He's like 5'5", so he is quite short for a 15 turning 16-year-old. Yeah. So obviously it's like, size isn't as big of a factor in today's game. It's still a factor. Like I tell people, it's not impossible. It's just harder. There's levels of the game that are harder for you, but you have to build your skill set around your size. So a guy like Aito is very crafty with that, and he knows with being small, you have to be very, very aware of your surroundings. You have to be a great puck distributor. You have to have great elusiveness and edge work, which he kind of builds his game around. So he's done a great job there for sure.
Because especially being a smaller kid, we're talking about the college game. College is so, crash and bang and crash game, and it's like 24-year-old guys, like 220 pounds. So it's you got to be ready to play there because it's mean hockey.
You do. Yeah. You got to know what's coming at the very least. You don't have to play that style of game, but you have to be prepared to play against that style of game for sure.
Absolutely. We've talked about, you've mentioned like, you would never tell like a kid that you're never going to play pro, which is a good thing because that's what Marty's saying. We got told all his life, and he just built up his confidence. But everyone, when they see your videos, they go, "Hey, that guy is very skilled. How is he not in the NHL?" That you must have been asked. You must have been asked that like I don't know how many times. Like, why would you not be in the NHL if you're actually teaching NHL guys like some skills and stuff in clinics? So the question is, people ask you, why didn't you play the NHL, Pop? As if it was easy, of course, which is not. But how did it go for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I was the type of kid who played all sports growing up, never specialized in a single one. Hockey was by far my favorite. I was good at it. I wouldn't say I was great at it. When you talk about, guys who are going to the OHL and above, right? It's like, you have to be so good. And I laugh every time I read a comment like that, that's saying, why aren't you in the NHL? I understand it. They're young. They see like, oh, good hands and he can do this kind of stuff and he teaches it well. And I totally understand it. As a kid, it's tough to know what it takes to make it in the NHL. So, it's funny. I laugh at it. I don't take it as like an ego thing. It's like, I know exactly why I'm not in the NHL. Like, I'm not anywhere near good enough. But
what are those reasons for those who don't know you, who haven't seen you played in a game? Like,
yeah, well, I think it's just the all around thing. It's like, I tell people it's like, having stick handling skills and stuff like that isn't anywhere near enough, in terms of having a well-rounded skill set. I mean, my skating was okay growing up, was nowhere near elite. Decision-making skills, time under pressure, physicality, stuff like that. It's just, as I played growing up, I was just kind of playing for fun. I loved the game. I think from age like 8 up, I never had any want to like play pro or anything like that, but I did want to be as good as I could at the game and loved it. But
until which level did you play? And like at what level did you stop playing, or how far up did you make it?
Yeah, so when I was 18, I played AA up until I was around 18, and then they had an under 21 league, under 21 AAA league in Toronto, where I was splitting time between school and between field hockey at the time. So I was like, oh, I'll just play in this league. It wasn't anything serious. I couldn't commit to junior A at the time with field hockey and everything, because I was having to miss a ton of games. So I just opted to go that route. And then once 21 hit, I was off to Vancouver to pursue the field hockey.
But you could have played junior A, you believe, like at that point?
I think so. Yeah. I think I was good enough at the time for sure to do that. Obviously, it's like, anyone can say anything, but I think that was something I was set on doing before I got the call from the Field Hockey Canada guys. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is something I want to pursue.
But you never thought I should do that East Coast hockey tryout or whatever. You never like bothered like I should try to play pro or anything?
Yeah,
like
not really. For me, when I was young, there was no thought of like, for me, it was always, I wanted to play hockey the rest of my life and I wanted to be involved in hockey. But for me, it wasn't like, oh, I need to go to this league, I need to go here. I kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to have a job in hockey. And I love the instruction side, which I figured later and later as I got older, from like 22 to 25. I was like, man, like I love this stuff. Like I love the development aspect and studying the game and analyzing things and making people better and all that. So I think my mindset was just always geared towards helping other people and just the instruction side of hockey.
We'll get back to floor and field hockey later, because that's like a thing. I think that is not very well known in Canada. People only think about ice hockey.
For sure.
We'll start with what you just mentioned, which is your job. There's a motto we hear a lot is create your own job. We hear that a lot. Create your own, which is like as if it were like easy or like, yeah, I want to, but it's actually hard. And I think it's interesting with you because you actually did create a niche that didn't exist before that. Kids didn't grow up thinking, I'm going to do videos about hockey and be paid for it. Like people did not, it was not a thing. You could not do that. So the question is, how did you start doing that? How did it came about? How did you start doing what became your job?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. The story's kind of anticlimactic in that I didn't really have a plan.
I love those. I love those. Those are the best ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of just story built out of authenticity and just, me having a passion towards something, doing it to the best of my ability, putting myself out there, and then slowly watching it grow into something. over time. And there was no plan of, oh, I'll go stage 1, then stage 2, stage 3. It was just, do the best you can with what you got and then build from there. And it started with me just doing like shootout videos on my friend with this garbage like phone. We'd lean up against a crate, and we got a lot of views from that. We were getting a lot on Instagram, which had just introduced 15-second videos at the time that I had started, which was great timing for me. Super lucky at that time to get that. So it was like putting up clips, really quick clips of shootout moves people hadn't seen before, or really creative moves, whatever it was. And from there, I just kind of grew my following. And then I was like, okay, well, my passion is largely instruction. So I want to be able to not only entertain these people, I want to actually help them. So we built in like tutorials into the YouTube channel. And then on the side, I was doing it for my job, which is my main source of income, is actually doing the instruction side. So everything kind of slowly built from there.
What was your actual daytime job at the time?
At the time, I had multiple. So I was working as an on-ice instructor at the UBC hockey school in British Columbia there at the university. I was
my sister actually attended UBC. So
nice. Yeah. Awesome school. And then I was coaching 2 field hockey teams at the time, and I was a referee for like a young kids ice hockey thing. Like I had like 4 jobs at the time, because we needed they cut our funding for field hockey, which I was relying on before. So it became like this thing where it's like, you have to, get your own job outside of it. And I needed a flexible job, which none of those were. So I had to work minimal hours in all 4. And then luckily over time, like it built into something where I could just toss all those jobs aside, focus on my one thing and grow it.
I would have imagined you like working in an office and like at a computer, but actually it was none of that. It was all hockey related from the get-go.
Oh man, I'd go nuts in a cubicle. I can't last in those environments.
So would I. And that's where we're talking today. But so you started doing those videos with your friends. Were you good at like editing and like those like filming and all that stuff? Did you know any about that? Or?
Not really. I was like with the basics of editing, I could cut and split well. But that was it, man. I wasn't doing color correction, none of that other stuff, transitions and stuff. And with filming, I knew it looked good, but I wasn't, overly knowledgeable in that department either. So it was just like, figure it out as you go.
And how long from the moment you started until that actually became your full-time job?
I would say probably a year to a year and a half. And I made sure to not rush into it, because I was working with friends at the time to give them instruction for free. And for me to be like, did this make sense? Did this not make sense? Am I talking too much? Because I wanted to learn how to teach it, because a lot of people don't know like anything about instruction. They think, oh, like, how to do it, you'll be a good teacher. And it's not that that's not true at all. Like people always make the assumption like, NHL players will just be great coaches. And I mean, if that were true, Wayne Gretzky would have been the best coach ever, but we all know how that turned out, right? It's just not the same. So I was trying to learn how to teach for like close to a year. And then after I felt confident, I started to branch out and allow like a lot of clients to hire me, and just word of mouth, like didn't do any advertising, just kind of worked with local kids and tried to do the best job I could, and grew from there.
When you started doing that full job, like what are your sources of revenue? Like where does the money come from? Like sponsors, personal, what is it?
Yeah, we had government money coming in for Field Hockey Canada at the time. So we were getting like monthly income from a thing called Own the Podium funding. Right. And that's for like, because field hockey is an Olympic sport. So we were getting some fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I meant like being when you started doing the hockey barber thing for a living. It was.
Oh yeah, like that was.
How do you?
That was it then. When I was doing it, it would just be that. But that I only started because I was doing it at the time I was playing field hockey for Team Canada. So at the start I was kind of split between 2 incomes there. And then once I stopped playing field hockey at the tail end of 2015, I pretty much said, I'm done with the sport. I started to like not enjoy it at all. And I was like, I just want to pursue this hockey thing. And that was, of course, at the time where I knew financially I was good and I could actually make this. It was still scary because you're like, wow, I'm, putting all my eggs in one basket here and betting on myself. But you have to bet on yourself, I think. And I, crunched the numbers and I was like, this is doable. And I can allocate a lot more time to this whole thing once I don't have to train 6 days a week with field hockey. So.
What does a typical day in Pavel Barber's life look like? Like, what do you do when you get up in the morning? What does it look like?
Yeah, so get up in the morning, have my breakfast, and then usually do something active, cardio wise. I need it to like wake up. If I don't, I feel like sluggish and sleepy throughout the day. And then usually in the late afternoon or evenings, we'll have like a practice session with some kids there. Usually do like small groups is what I specialize in. So anywhere between like 5 and 6 kids is what I ideally like to do, because I like to be very specific with instruction, and you can't do that with like 30 kids a lot. Although I still do camps like that in the summer and they're advantageous, but I like the one-on-one stuff more, where I can talk specifically to the kid and address their, pitfalls and all that stuff. And then I try to make time for myself to be able to play the sport and have fun. So now that we're in the winter time in Toronto, I'll be on the outdoor rink. So like 5 times a week, if they open or whatever the COVID restrictions are here. Yeah.
What has the COVID thing changed for you?
Well, right now the rinks are all locked up, and obviously like all the bars and all the restaurants right now in Toronto there's no dine-in right now because they're getting really, really serious. Because we just apparently like there's new records every single day here in Toronto, at least. So it's getting very restrictive, but I'm good. I'm always good like riding solo. So when I'm doing like my cardio or my workouts, I'd rather be alone anyway. But it just makes things more difficult, I think, with my job. Being able to rent ice and get 5 kids together for sessions is quite tough.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, you do that like every day, the sessions on ice with kids? Like
not every day, but most days. Yeah.
Yeah. But because there's a huge market in Toronto, like a lot of very, highly skilled amateur teams. Like last year I was having the guy from the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, and he's like, Toronto is a juggernaut. Like we know every year we're going to have at least X amount of teams just from the Toronto area, because it's like all the Tavares and all those Stamkos, they all come from those very highly skilled teams. So I think that the market for you is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was one of the main components to why I moved back to Toronto from Vancouver. Being from here, I knew the lay of the land pretty well. I knew the market. I already have a bunch of clients here, but just the amount of work you can get in Toronto as an instructor is like 10 times what you can get certainly in Vancouver. So it just made sense business wise to move back here.
Absolutely. We didn't even mention, like, I didn't even ask you from the get-go. I was like, what name should I call you? I didn't know if I should call you Pavel. That's the person's name, but that's not your actual name. Your actual name is
Brandon. Yeah. So usually people would call me like Barber growing up.
Right.
So it's like no one ever called me Brandon. So it's like me not having that name associated with me much is like not even a stretch. So it's either Pavel or Barber, one of the two.
Yeah. And what's the story behind the Pavel nickname? How did that come about?
Yeah, that was a funny one. So it's like when I was starting my YouTube career, I was making Datsyuk highlights, and I just had a YouTube channel dedicated to Datsyuk highlights, and the channel name was just my name. It was just Brandon Barber, and it would just be Pavel Datsyuk highlights. And I was focusing on all the things that made Datsyuk great that you wouldn't see on paper. So when you look at Datsyuk stats, you'd think, oh, nothing that special. Certainly not to the point where you would have like the, greatest player in the game title. But it's like you have to always look well beyond the stats to tell the value of a player. So that's what that channel was dedicated to. And then when I decided I want to pursue my own thing because I wanted to put my own content out there, but I needed a different name for the channel. So I was like, well, why don't I just put Pavel Barber there, and I put it as a placeholder originally. And this is all through Google Plus. So apparently I had changed my name 2 times prior to that. And when I tried to change it out of Pavel Barber, it wouldn't let me because I had changed it too many times. So I was like stuck with it. So it wasn't even like, oh, I'll call myself Pavel Barber and that's it. It was like kind of Google Plus told me like, you're stuck with this. Like you've changed it too many times. So it's pretty funty.
That's how it just became, it's stuck.
That's
right?
it. It's stuck, and it's a good name for Google searches because it's like a Russian or.
Didn't kids used to call you Pavel on the outside pun or something like that?
No, not before the channel.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, not before the channel. I was just Barber or Barbs, before that.
So funny because like your actual name, Brendan, as a French Canadian kid growing up in Montreal, if it had told me like, what's the name, like the typical name for a guy playing hockey in Ontario would have been Brendan. Like it just sounds, it's like one of the names you just keep hearing, like Taylor, like Tyler, Brendan, Connor.
Yeah.
That's what it's in my French Canadian mind. I was like, yeah, Brendan, isn't that the norm?
They're
like
all named that.
Yeah. So anyway, so you did, that's how you became Pavel. How often do you get yelled at on the street, Pavel? Hey, does that happen any often?
Not much. Like it's happened before, but it's always in rinks. Like if I'm in a rink, even at like Leaf games, I'll get stopped like a couple times. Nothing to the point where it's like, like real celebrities would be stopped like every second and it's annoying. With me, it's like random a few times, like, but in public, so rarely that I hardly even notice. But in like minor hockey rinks, usually if there's a bunch of kids there, then happens quite a bit, but certainly not to the point where it bothers me because it's I'm not in those situations many times, and if I need to take a picture, it's not a big deal. Like I don't mind that stuff.
When people ask you what's your job, if anyone that doesn't know you, because you've been doing like the YouTube thing, the clinics and all that, what do you say? What how do you qualify? How do you call your job?
Yeah, it's weird. It's funny when you're looking for a new place and you're trying to tell the people you're applying for the place what you do for a living. What I do, it doesn't sound good. It's like,
doesn't sound like you'll be able to pay the rent every first of the month.
Yeah.
You do videos. Good.
I do videos.
Never come back. Yeah.
Thanks for your application. Like mainly I say like I'm a hockey instructor, do traveling hockey schools all across North America and beyond. Probably North America. That would be my number one thing I would say. And then on the side, I kind of just say I do social media advertising. Like the influencer title, I think is kind of spread out where anyone can say they're an influencer in some way. But for me, it's like, I do social media for my own thing. And then the way I monetize it is I do advertising with companies I actually like. So I get to choose the companies, which is nice. But that's what it is. It's all advertising and marketing through my social media feed. So that's kind of what
Let me guess. GoPro, True.
Yeah. There you go. They're the brands I work with most.
When was the last time you paid for a hockey stick?
Oh man. What's funny, man, is, growing up, we were like real poor, like did not have enough money to get good sticks at all. So I remember I wanted composite sticks really, really, really a lot. And I would pick them like broken ones out of garbage cans and I would cut the bottom and I put a replacement blade in just to get the 2-piece. So I did that for like so many years and was like never paid probably more than $60 or $70 for a stick growing up. And all my buddies obviously have like the $200 synergies and stuff like that.
And now you have so much. I think I even saw you did a sale on Sideline Swap.
Yeah.
Now I have too much stuff.
Yeah, I have so many sticks and they're all like the best sticks ever. And it's funny. It's like I could have used these when I was playing younger. Now I'm like an instructor and I have like the top lines from like CCM, Bauer, Warrior, True. And it's obviously nice to have, and it's all for marketing purposes. And it's fun to test them out and to actually see the differences and to give people like actual feedback on the technology that's in them.
Right.
I'm learning a lot about sticks and how they're made, but it's funny now, like having all these sticks at my disposal Whereas when I was younger and actually playing and competing, I was picking them out of garbage cans.
Right. Would you be using a true stick if you weren't paid to do it?
Oh, absolutely. So basically, I'm not exclusive with any company.
Right.
And I use all the sticks. Like, it's like if CCM sends me one, I'll use it and test it out. And I'll use the Bauer one. And I love that AX9, like the new true AX9.
I use it. I use the true stick too. It's the only thing is it's so expensive.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. They all.
I tried to. I mean, use it over. Like I tape it so. I over tape it because I try to protect the blade so it lasts as long as it can.
Yeah.
But like the good side of COVID, I'm like, at least the stick will last longer.
Yeah.
That's the silver lining for me. But the true sticks are real. Like they have a nice feel, nice whip to it. I like them.
Yeah. I know.
When you were talking about being younger, like I remember doing that, like cutting out the blade, and I know it for you, but you had to turn it upside down to put the new blade in sometimes.
Yeah. I would always try not to because it annoyed me if it was like a little bit thinner at the top. Yeah. And back then they didn't taper as many. Of course, like that's what true. You're saying is that's true. Like, but the ones I would get, and I was so short, which helped because I could cut it like almost halfway on some of these.
Right.
So
because I did go.
There.
It reminds me when you're saying that because I used to go like to this in high school to this private school, you know, and kids were very like coming from wealthy background, and I mean we were not poor, but my dad was like, I'm not buying you a 200 300 stick. It's ridiculous. You're like, you're 14. And it makes sense. Like even right now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, that's stupid. Like I was not the next Crosby or whatever. Like you're not supposed to buy. And I think I used wooden stick until I was like 18. Like people like, wow. what are you doing? And I'm like, it was like a $35, stick. And that was like, look, if you want the composite stick, like you pay half of it. Yep. And I was like,
fair.
Damn it, no, I don't want to. So
I like the wood. I like the wood.
So I stuck with the wood, and there was this rich kid, like he became a doctor, of course, and he broke a stick once, and he came by the back like for a stick, grabbed it, and then the place stopped, and he looked at the stick, and I remember he looked up and he went, "What is that?" And I just screamed, "Wood! It's wood!" And he was like, my God. I think it was the heaviest thing he ever, held in his hands.
Wow.
But
that would throw you off, eh? Well, it's funny. It's like, listen to the Crosby interview on Spit and Chicklets. They're like, why'd you stop using the two pieces? And he goes, because they stopped making them. It's funny. It's like, obviously it's not the stick, it's the player, but the stick can obviously help. There's a reason why you're not seeing players use full wood sticks now. They're just not nearly as good, but so there is a level to which people are just getting brainwashed into believing I mean, the margins now, it's like $319 sometimes for these high-end sticks. Like it's criminal. And they have these sites out there that are pro stock sticks and all that. And they're like $150 max. So if you find a pro stock stick that matches your specs, then you're good. Like go with that. Get it for $150. There's definitely ways to cut it in half or at least close.
What are those? Like
so ProStockHockey.com. There's Pro Stock sticks. There's Hockey Stick Man. Those are the three that I know of, and they're like $150 price point. Right. So check it out.
I've been to the Canadians stock sale. When they like the Canadians, they have like those the gear they didn't use or like the extra gloves and stuff. So I went to one of those, and it's so funny because I think the last podcast we did was with I don't know if you remember David Desharnais. He played for the Canadians for a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure. My dad's a huge Habs fan, so I watch a ton of Habs games. Yeah.
So your dad, being from Toronto, is a Habs fan.
Yeah, well, he was a big fan of Mahovlich.
Right.
And he was on the Leafs, and when they traded him, he was like, "Screw the Leafs! I hate you. I'm a Habs fan now." So he hates the Leafs now.
That's hilarious. Is it Pete Mahovlich or?
No, Frank Mahovlich.
Frank Mahovlich, right?
He's the other brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think my dad's favorite player was like Pete growing up, so that would have been would have been too big of a connection there.
Yeah.
But that's how does he like the Leafs now? I mean, being
hates them.
Still to this day.
Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, he just I think he just picked up, and he was like, from that moment on, he's like, screw the Leafs. You traded my favorite guy. I hate you forever. And he's held that grudge pretty strong. Yeah, it's crazy.
He went with the team winning cups every year. The Canadiens, back in the day, they just won every year a cup.
Oh, yeah,
different.
Absolutely. The Leafs hadn't won since.
67. Yeah, we had actually Guy Carbonneau came on last year, and we talked about that 93 cup, and which was the actual last cup we had in Canada.
Yeah, that's right.
So, let alone... On prend une petite pause de l'épisode pour que je vous parle de notre commanditaire cette semaine. Et j'ai nommé Websim Hockey, la meilleure plateforme de hockey simulé qui soit. Ah oui, vous l'avez entendu ici, il y a Drette sur le tape. C'est un produit en plus 100% québécois. Vous recherchez le vrai défi de GM, là. Vous pensez, là, c'est facile d'être Marc Bergevin, les bing bang boom, les trades, tout ça, moi je ferais ça de même. Ouais, ben viens le faire, gros. Ouais, gros, oui, ça touche pas, gros. Ouais, gros. On va se pogner, gros. Avec ça, tu viens faire ça sur WebSim Hockey. C'est assez facile. C'est là que tu vas voir ce que tu as vraiment dans le ventre, OK? Et là, on parle de l'expérience du GM totale. Moi, je te parle du repêchage jusqu'à les hauts trades, jusqu'à, il y a même le repêchage d'expansion. Il y a toute la patte. C'est la totale. OK? La totale, c'est ça que c'est. WebSim Hockey, il y a même des ligues rétro des années 70 à aujourd'hui. Tu peux mettre tes joueurs préférés de ton enfance. Tu fais ce que tu veux. Tu fais une ligue avec tes chums. Honnêtement, c'est nice. C'est ça que je suis en train de te dire. Puis ça se passe au websimhockey.com. Je pense que c'est assez clair. Je pense que j'ai pas besoin de crier. Je pense qu'on peut avoir du plaisir sans crier. Je suis fou. Je suis fou de penser ça. Moi, je pense pas. Moi, je pense que c'est correct. OK. websimhockey.com. De retour à l'épisode. Yeah, we're talking about sticks. Crosby used the Sherwood when he got in the league. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
the
I
two
remember.
Piece.
Yeah.
I think he had to like spray paint it black because he was like sponsored by CCM and support or stuff like that. He's very conservative hockey players. Once they like something, they have to.
Yeah.
But isn't the one piece actually a two piece? Right? As everyone knows, like it's just like covered, but it's actually a two piece, isn't it? Or maybe it's not anymore. But it was for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not now. The way they kind of make them, it's all kind of in one. You can like customize them. So like when I get my trues, like I customize mine to make the blade a little bit lighter than it normally is. So they have ways to tweak them, but they are all in one piece now. There's no like disconnect from the blade to the shaft.
Perks of being Pavel Barber.
Yeah, honestly, man, like it was crazy because it made a big difference for me. It's those small things that make a big difference, but I was like loving the feel as the puck was getting stick handled with that.
For sure. So you did those videos for kids, but then came a point where you got, I don't know how that happened, and I'm curious to know, but guys like Jonathan Toews and Jake Virtanen getting to you and say, hey man, want to hire you. How did that come to, how did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, like talking about Instagram earlier, the Taves one, that's what that came through. It was just an Instagram DM on my alternate account, Pavel Barber Training, that's dedicated to just training, not so much like the fancy tricks and stuff. Because I wanted to separate myself from that because people were kind of getting it in their heads that, oh, he just teaches lacrosse moves. And I'm like, I've never taught a lacrosse move at a private lesson, a group session, or a camp in my life. So I was like, all right, I got to show people what I actually do for a living and actually help people. So created that account, and through that, just got a message from him, just asking for some off ice drills that he could do 3 to 5 times a week. And from there, we just got talking, and obviously you get a message from a guy like that. It takes you back and makes you think, wow, look how far you've come. Big opportunity for you. But at the same time, it's like, just like anyone else, this guy's trying to be a little bit better than he is now. Let's look at the player, Jonathan Toews, see what his skill sets are, what makes him as successful as he is. Don't change him, but let's try and build on him and add layers to what he has and things like that. So that was the whole thought process when he messaged me. And then the Virtanen thing was a friend of a friend was his agent. And he had gotten word that like Virtanen needed to work on his hand. So I got the message from him and just worked with him through that summer in Vancouver there, which was nice because it was local and he didn't live too far away. So we were able to to get a lot of work in. And great guy, both of them great guys, and a lot of fun to work with them.
What'd you guys work on? What'd you work on with those guys? Like
a lot of different things. So Virtanen being a big, strong, fast kind of power forward.
Yeah.
We were trying to work on a little bit more lateral moves because he was more kind of straight line guy. Just a few moves to give him a little bit of elusiveness to open up lanes, to cut to the middle maybe a little bit earlier. Like through watching him, it was apparent that like he's very, very fast. And he's such a big body that when he was driving wide, he wasn't cutting in early enough. And I think it was either he wasn't aware of it or he wasn't confident enough to do it. But that was one of the things. It's like trying to get him to cut in more, just drive right through the hands of the defender as they're reaching out. Because with a body like his, like he's gonna bump them away, especially if they're overreaching. So things like that for him. Certainly the first touch, being a winger, especially with guys like Pettersson on your line, you're gonna get the puck a lot if you are on his line on the power play, whatever. So those small area touches for him weren't a strong suit. And that was the basis of what we were working on with Virtanen versus a guy like Taves. It was more kind of moves up the middle, like being a center, you're the last line of defense and you're the guy in the breakout in the middle. So obviously moves on the backhand, moves on the forehand after receiving the puck, little hip opening moves as you're helping along the half wall, 2-on-1 moves like that pullback move where you fake the pass, pull it back. On the strong side, we work from the weak side as well because he's working both sides. And then just puck protection, honestly, like we worked on with both players. No player can work on that enough. So there's a lot more to it, but those are the main things we worked on with him.
How did Jonathan Taves has got such a reputation of being like having such a strong work ethic, and he was nicknamed Captain Serious. I think he was 19-year-old at the time, was so young, 20-year-old, whatever. And what did you think of the guy himself? You know?
Yeah, I mean the guy himself. It's like great dude, easy to talk to. Very, very much didn't want you to bullshit him. He wanted you to tell you if he was doing the drill and it was dog shit, he'd want to know. And he would tell you, like, don't tell me this is good if it's not, or just let me know. And it's like, with me, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm pretty, that's what I'm all about. It's like, don't be a yes man. Like if something's not looking good or you don't see an application to it, whatever it is, let them know. These guys are thick skinned NHL veterans. Like you're not going to make them feel bad for giving them a small critique or even opening up their minds to something, get them thinking about something else. So that, and yeah, to his credit and what you were saying, his work ethic is off the charts. And there were times where I had to almost be like, do you need water? Like give him permission to get water because we were working pretty hard, and I'm notoriously bad for knowing when to give people water breaks. So he was he worked his ass off for sure.
Did he have some feedback for you in the upcoming season, and or what, like did he like, or did he believe it helped, or what was his feedback? Following the next season.
Yeah, it was good. It was like the feedback immediately, actually after the session. He was talking about the things he felt were beneficial and how he could see the value in some things, which it's good to hear. And it's like, from the point of an instructor, you want to get away from like the ego and you want to get to the whole, like, is this helping or is it not? Did you find value in this or did it not? And it was nice because it was like unprovoked. I didn't have to ask him anything. We were just shooting the shit. And he was telling me like, I really like this stuff. And what he really liked too is the fact that I was not overcomplicating things. And that's something I like despise in instructors when they like overcomplicate something. I don't care if you're in the NHL or whether you're an 8-year-old kid. There's no point trying to verbally overcomplicate something. When your job is to get a point across to someone in a way they comprehend and that they can put their effort towards on the ice and get feedback from. Right. So that was a big thing. And then like, obviously we're like texting and stuff throughout the season. And whenever he's got a break or whatever, it's like sending him more videos or whatever it is to help him along the way.
So are you guys still in touch?
Yeah. Yeah, still in touch. During COVID, obviously, it's like more time to be doing off ice stuff and things like that. I'm sure these guys are getting desperate for ideas and think ways to be better. It's tough. I mean, everyone's in a tough position. And even for me, like knowing the space well, like off ice had to be better. It's not ideal to not be playing games. It's not the same. You can train on your own as much as you want. It's just not the same as actually playing in a game. So what Joe Thornton's doing right now, it's like awesome. Like getting in there, getting your games in, getting your touches in, getting the pace of play, staying in the mix. It's tough to do. So I'm sure these guys are trying to find ways to have at least inter squad games or something like that.
Hey, Joe doesn't even count as an import because he's got the Swiss license.
That's right. So, that's right. You met his wife there, right?
Absolutely. In the first lockout, like 2004, 05.
That's right.
Yeah. Because Vlasic is a friend of the podcast. We've had him on.
Okay.
He's a guy from Montreal. He's a guy from Montreal, actually. So, ironically, like Vlasic is from Montreal, but his first language is English, whereas Taves is from Winnipeg, but he always spoke French with his mom. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, he speaks fluent French, Taves, because his mom is outside of Quebec City. So he went to school throughout, like elementary school and high school, French only. So Taves actually speaks very well French.
I'll have to speak French to him. I know about five words.
That's Anyway, that's because like in Quebec, like you're not gonna learn English through school, and same as in Canada, you're not gonna learn French through school because you just have it's just not how it works. But speaking of dissect, because that's what you're good at, dissecting. Is it the word dissecting?
Yeah.
Dissecting moves and stuff, and that's what you've been doing with videos with the guys who've been hired. But one precise thing I wanted to ask you about was a lot of guys playing, even like just beer leagues or whatever. But one of the nemesis of some players is the shootout. They just get so nervous for the shootout, and they're like, what am I do? But since you've been dissecting videos of the actual best guys in the world, such as the Canes and the Oshis and whatever. What are the few pointers you'd like to give people for the shootouts? Because there's a few elements that I think keep coming back that are very important that probably people don't sometimes even think of. They just come in a straight line and try to go fast or whatever. What are the pointers you'd like to give, like players of any age or any type regarding the shootout?
Yeah, I think the main thing I say to people is keep your options open, because you never know how the goalie is going to play you. Are they going to be further out? Are they going to be further back? Are they going to be cheating blocker? Are they going to be cheating glove? Whatever it is. Are they a lefty? Are they a righty? That changes a whole lot. Whether you're a lefty or righty changes a whole lot. So think about that move where you fake a forehand shot and curl it backhand. That is a move highly catered to left-handed shooters, because I think it's like 95% of goalies in the NHL are, blocker on the right hand, catcher on the left. So with that said, the stick is in the blocker hand there. So when you get him moving laterally, the stick moves out of that 5-hole region more for a lefty when you're faking to go backhand. So that's a move that's like, okay, if you're a lefty, absolutely, you got to learn that. As a righty, still learn it, but it is a lot more difficult to do that. But in my overall generalized approach, it's just keep your options open. I really, really strongly like the strong side approach. So a righty swinging to the right off the angle, lefty swinging from the left, kind of like McDavid. McDavid does it. Patrick Kane does it. Kovalchuk does it. A bunch of other players are doing it now. And all you do is you stick handle the puck back and you load it up in that shooting area as you come on the angle. And then you're reading the goalie, seeing what he does. You have a shot option immediately. You have a backhand option if you want to fake backhand. Then you have a fake backhand forehand option there. So that's like my generalized approach. TJ Oshie, who you mentioned, I did a full breakdown of him. It's one of my first YouTube videos. He had a three move shootout set where he'd swing in strong side, just come down the middle. He would put it in the shooting space, and he would either just rip it 5-hole, fake 5-hole backhand, or fake backhand, top shelf forehand. And it's like, yeah, having those, that set of moves in the back of your mind is one thing. Actually being able to sell the move, and actually do it well with good consistency is quite another. So obviously practicing all those 3 sets of moves very well, and just reading the goalie, seeing what's open, to be able to determine where are you best suited to go, blocker, 5-hole, or glove.
Yeah, I think the perfect example of that was Oshie in the Olympics. I mean, he's going up against Bobrovsky. I think he did
4 for 6.
Yeah, and one of them he actually had the open, and Bobrovsky made a desperate stick save.
Oh yeah, but absolutely.
That would have been 5 for 6, which is completely off the chart. Like, I think the best guys usually have it like 30%, 40%, whatever.
30% is very good, and 40 is like elite, and then 50 is like, that's like Taves, Barkov, Oshie, guys like that.
And then you have a guy doing it in the Olympics. That's like the pressure, and it's just crazy. But I'm happy you mentioned the keeping your head up and trying to read the goalie, because as a kid, one of the things you get told by coaches, like, have your move in mind, then stick to it. That's what you get told. Yeah. Which is brutal, because if the goalie reads it, you're just done. Whatever. Like you cannot react to the goalie, but so the goalie reacts to you anyway. But that's funny going like. Because people think, the elite shooters, they already know what they're going to do. Well, they know their options, but...
Yeah. Well, that's... it's funny, like, when I did a fun video with Alexander Barkov with Hockey Shot, where we built that rink there, and obviously I'm going to ask him some questions while I got time with him.
Yeah.
And obviously one of the things was like, do you have a move in mind? And he said, like, yes, I have a move in mind. Doesn't mean I'm going to use it, though. And that's what I say to people. And I loved it. I was like, okay, like, at least I got like that right for sure on like shootouts, because that made the most sense. It's like, yes, you want to have a predetermined move in mind, something you're thinking about and visualizing yourself doing, but you have to be ready to, pull shoot and go to plan B in between that move, given how the goalie is playing you. So that's, I think, the best advice there. Just, think about what you're going to do, but be ready to change your mind, and you need to have variant moves to that other move to pull out of it.
Having access to NHL stars and such talents as Barkov, but you've had you had the chance to come across many of those. What were the best lessons or the things you learned from them that you got? Oh boy, I'm gonna remember that for a long time. What are the best things you learned throughout being in contact with all those elite players?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just how the importance of simplicity around these moves, and like the first touch. Like, these players, a lot of the time, it's like they want to get marginally better. Well, obviously everyone wants to be a lot better, but they know it's going to take a while, and they know if like I could be 1% better in this area, then that's amazing. Like, that's the difference between getting a shot off and not getting a shot off, right? So you look at whether it's me like talking with NHL players or me just listening to interviews of them and things like that, whether it's podcasts, whatever, like a lot of them will talk about like getting the shot off a little bit quicker and the little tips and tricks that they use to do that. And you look at like the Matthews drag shot, which isn't new, but the way he does it is revolutionary. So like people call it the Matthews drag shot. Drag shot's been around for many, many years. But the way he does it is so brilliant in that he's able to change the lane like so abruptly, shoot opposite side, shoot same side, and choose basically when he's going to shooting, so he can create his shooting lanes in between his shot very, very well. So little things like that I pick up on with these guys. I love whenever they do like they did that thing with Matthews actually with an ex-NHLer. They went on the ice and they talked through the drag shot, how he learned it, and what he looks for, and you're just like, cool. Like I'm such a nerd for that stuff. Like I'll listen all day to an NHLer telling you little tips, tricks.
Speaking of skills development, we had a chance with the podcast to go to Sweden, where we had a chance to meet with Peter Forsberg and Marcus Naslund and
awesome.
Many guys. Yeah, it was awesome. And we also had a chance, probably because people I think listened to it because they wanted to hear our Forsberg or Naslund interviews. But the one I was, the people keep coming up to me about is the one where we met the president of, Swedish Hockey Federation. His name is Tommy Boosted. And it was just such an interesting conversation because the guy is a goddamn genius at innovation through hockey. And now I believe the NHL players are 10%. 10% of NHL players are coming from Sweden, which is huge.
It's crazy. It's huge for their population. Yeah.
I mean, there are less people in Sweden than in Ontario. That's crazy. Yeah. And having way
less rinks too.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So having 1/10 of the best league in the world is amazing. And the thing we were talking about, how they did it and how they built a system and how they worked that, it was really heavily about first making it fun for kids, but starting with the skills, skating skills, shooting, passing, and really focusing on skills and ice time and making the best as they can, and it worked. I mean, they sat around 2000 and now the generation from that is now in the AHL. And then you come back to Canada and people are asking, there are less Canadians in the NHL and they're going down and stuff like that. And I feel like we should really learn from that. Overseas. Have you ever been in contact with or in touch with Hockey Canada, or have you been asked by them, or have you approached them about like maybe looking at our development system and maybe making things better, on so many levels?
Yeah, never been in contact with them really. I mean, I'm obviously keeping close tabs on them. I watch their stuff. A lot of it is like, stuff I agree with, of course. And then a lot of it is like, could use a lot of improvement. It's tough when in Canada and any hockey population that's dealing with a mass population, it's tough to heighten the skill level of like hundreds of thousands of people, with one framework. What Sweden's done obviously is very smart and very innovative and amazing. It's a little bit easier with a smaller population because you're able to reach individual kids more. But I 100% agree with you in that would be my one takeaway from my time in Sweden. I was in Luleå and PTO Sweden doing camps, and like you, I was just like talking to every coach I could because it was so different over there. And I'm like, what are you guys doing over here? What's different? Like, what's your mindset behind this and that? And it was all about raising the level of each kid and keeping everyone within the same organization. So you talk to Victor Hedman, he's like, I played on two teams in my life, my Swedish club team and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it's like, if you said that to a kid in Ontario, you'd be like, what? You can't play on one team? That's impossible. Like, you'd be in house league before you know it. It's crazy. Like, they really, really foster their thing, and they don't discriminate talent level and make it as political, not anywhere near as political as we do here. So they do a great job of that. And that those guys you mentioned from the town of Ovik, they turned out so many talented people. That was a hotbed of talent, and that's what they were doing. They were making sure, like, players, like things in Sweden, it's like they play every position. So they get to play forward, they get to play D, even goalie. Like, they'll let them try it. They highly discourage dump and chase and chip it high and hard off the glass. They want you to make mistakes. They want you to try and find a creative solution to maintain puck possession and make a play. And that's one thing we do a horrible job of in Canada, is we really, really make winning here and development little, well below actually in a lot of that. So, I mean, we'll have teams in like Vancouver, where I'm from, where kids are playing like 6 minutes on a third, fourth line of a team. Why do you put your kid on that team? What's the point of minor hockey? It's development. So your kid's playing 6 minutes. I don't care if you're first in the West. It means nothing. Your kid's not getting better. Like, it's crazy.
He's 8.
Yeah, he's 8. Yeah, it's like, let him play. Let him play. It's
I think Sweden, they don't look at, there are no like scores until the age of, I don't know. 10
they raised it recently too to a higher age group. And
you're not allowed to travel a certain distance until the age of, I think, 14 or 15. So they really make it, they really start local and make it fun and skilled based. That's we have a lot to learn, I feel, from that. So anyway, that's why I'm like, as you're being kind of in a way the face of skills development in Canada, I was like, it would make so much sense for you to to work with or with Hockey Canada and try to make, because like we have to reshape the whole thing. In my sentence, anyway.
Yeah, I'd certainly say that like the main thing is like we really have to pull back on making it like you have to have this amount of money to be able to make it big, because it's just, it keeps getting pushed higher. And now with the academy model, it's getting pushed even higher. All we're doing is we're shrinking the talent pool from the hundreds of thousands we have. It's of those hundreds of thousands, to have this opportunity, you have to have this much money. So to play rep and to play travel, you have to be paying this amount. So you're going to lose out on the players who maybe don't have that much money, who could have been very good, who had the drive. And in Sweden, that is something they don't have to worry about. If you're good enough, you're going to get the opportunity to play.
And a good thing you're a good example of too is, as you mentioned earlier, you grew up playing many different sports, And that is a key thing. Whereas now they're over specialized so young, and it's just all about hockey. 12 months a year. So that makes it harder. Whereas they believe it's the opposite, but they think it's going to make them better. But in the end, I mean, injuries. If you keep playing the same sports, you have more risk of injuries in certain areas. Speaking of which. While we have you play a very high level of floor hockey and field hockey that we don't hear that much of in Canada because we're so focused on ice hockey. But tell me more about those, how you got into them, and you played, I mean, a very high level of that's how you became a Canadian athlete, actually. So I'll let you go with it. So like the field hockey thing, like I said, was just when I was 21. I tried out for Team Canada for 3 years prior. I was on Team Ontario and finally made it my last year. And just shipped everything out to Vancouver, moved my whole life out there, played professionally for about 5 years there in Vancouver. Got to go on a bunch of great tours to like New Zealand, Argentina, a few other places. And then once I stopped playing that, started doing like the ice hockey training and stuff. And then started to realize like how in love with floorball I was. And floorball, they call innebandy in Sweden, which is indoor bandy, which if anyone knows bandy, it's the craziest. Look up on YouTube. Really, really cool. But crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
it's field hockey played on ice.
Pretty much. Exactly. Best way to say it. So I played floorball for Team Canada. Just made the team my first tryout, and it was good because I had played ball hockey my whole life. So it was a pretty easy kind of transition to that. And I've been playing on that team for about 5 years now. We have a tour coming up. It was supposed to be this December in Helsinki, the World Floorball Championships, but it's going to be pushed obviously with everything to probably 2021. And I love that sport. Like when I was in Sweden doing training there, I would play floorball with the kids there. And obviously in Sweden, they're like 20 times better than we are in Canada. So I'm playing with like these kids who are like 15 and they're like dominating me. I'm like running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to keep up. But man, I love the sport. I love how the fact that it's a good introductory sport. So if you can't afford ice hockey or you just want to figure out whether you like it at the young age, it's like you can get involved. Gender isn't that much of a barrier to entry because usually it's like when you get to 12, the difference in strength between men and women is drastically different. But because the ball and the stick are so light, strength is nothing. It really doesn't mean anything in floorball, really. So that is taken out of the equation. And it's all like, you have to be very quick and your decision making very crafty with the ball, good movement off the ball, all that stuff. So great supplementary sport too for any hockey player for sure.
What countries are very good, very strong at field and floor hockey that we know?
So field would be like Australia, Germany, Netherlands, England would be probably round out the top four. And then in floorball, it would be Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, and then Czech Republic, I believe, would round out the top four.
The football, though, it's not. When we think of like floor hockey, ball hockey, we think of like an actual like ice hockey stick and a yellow, very hard ball, but that's not what floor hockey is.
Yeah, so floor. It's the proper term is floor ball. So floor hockey is kind of like a game you play in like gym class or whatever with those sticks that we know. Floor ball is played with really really durable like carbon sticks with plastic blades with holes in it. Right. And the ball is kind of almost like a wiffle ball, but it's quite a bit different. It just looks like a wiffle ball. It's very dense, so when you shoot it, like a wiffle ball would like curve and fly all over the place. The floor ball is very dense, so it flies pretty straight and hard. It really hurts when it hits you. But it's very light, and what that means is with the lightness of the ball and the stick, the movement and the pace of play is drastically faster. Like, because the ball's so light, it just flies everywhere. So when you get the ball and floor ball, you have to have your next move before you touch that thing, or you're screwed. So it's a great sport for just awareness, making you more aware out there.
Have you had a hard time trying to sell it to ice hockey players, or they go like,
no, not at all.
Oh, man,
like it's crazy. So field hockey you would, because field hockey is like, that's why I got out of it. It's like only righties. You're not allowed to use the backhand of the stick.
What?
Your crouch over. Yeah, dude, it's weird. Look up
only
the rules.
righties.
Like, yeah, totally weird, and it doesn't translate much to ice hockey because you can't use the backhand, so you're literally doing this like toeies all the time. It's weird. What in floorball, it transfers over quite well. If you're a hockey player, you never played floorball before, your first time you're gonna have a blast. And I've done clinics all around North America. You'd be hard pressed to find someone who didn't have a good time who plays high level hockey. It's an easy sell. It's not something I try and sell people like you have to play this for development. It's like try a good development tool. It's a fantastic cardio tool. If you don't want to run on a treadmill, just play a floorball game. Right. And it's a great introductory tool and a great off ice tool for coaches. If you want a low budget way to work your power play and to talk about positioning, rent a gym, get some floorball sticks, and work around your systems there. Like there's so many ways to introduce it, but kids love it, man. It was actually blown away by the response, but it's like near 100%. Like everyone loves that sport.
Huh. Fascinating. One thing I really wanted to ask you about was, as a guy putting out videos online, what's going to happen is people are going to comment.
Yeah.
And that's not always positive, unfortunately. Yeah. And you get to deal with a lot of stuff. You're like, well, the humankind is very disappointing at times, you know?
Oh, my, yeah.
And I wanted, I'm asking you about this because I see you're responding a lot of times to some comments. And I'm like, but how much time does he put in responding to sometimes like guys who don't deserve answers or whatever? But there are a few comments that keep coming back. The same comments about your skills. What are they? Because
the main ones would be, and it's not just like when I'm doing stuff. It's like even when NHL or non-NHL people are. It's like, you know, obviously like they're kind of laughed at now, but they're still used. It's like should have poke checked.
Exactly.
Should have played the body. Just play chest to chest. Forget the puck. Just hit him. You know, this guy had his head down, and it's like it's unbelievable to me. And the reason, like you said, and you're totally right to say it, is like these guys don't deserve the response. For me, I think about it from a different spectrum where I think about kids reading comment sections because I know they do.
Right.
So I'm responding more for kids who are reading this. If someone's going to try and put misinformation out there, I'm going to counter your misinformation with actual facts because I'm actually watching the game sometimes twice. And like deeply reviewing skills. So I know what's going on. So I'm basing whenever I say something, I'm actually going to base it on something. Whereas a lot of people feel comfortable just saying things without having to, you know, base it on anything. So it's like, I don't know what it is, but so many of these comments, it's like, you don't watch hockey. Like if you actually believe this is true, I have a hard time believing you watch the game. And it's like that head down one is the funniest thing. Like people have such a non-understanding of the difference between looking down and having a head down, right? Like if my head is down, like it's like this, right? Which you rarely see people ever do that. Whereas like people are calling like this head down when they're just doing that. And my head's not moving. It's just my eyes are moving. So the difference in what I can see from an actual head down position versus just eyes looking down is very much different. And NHLers do it literally all the time. In certain circumstances, like some circumstances, absolutely you can't. Like if you have a guy charging right at you, do not look down. Even if your head is up, don't look down. But it's all over the game. When I post a video on like my Hey Barber page, almost all the time, if you're using a toe drag, backhand toe drag, pull between the legs, whatever it is, they're always looking down, but they're doing so after scanning the ice and noticing where the free ice is versus where the defense is in relation to where they are. And some people just have no clue how to differentiate the two, and they make this widespread generalized claim of, oh, look down, get hit. And It's like, like you'll see players get hit looking down, but are you going to just ignore all the examples where they don't get hit and where it's used successfully? Because there's a key difference. Like when a guy gets hit, he's looking down at the wrong time, and we can actually like learn from this and be like, look at where the defender is, look at the angle. This is a bad time to look down versus look at where the defender is here. Look at the free ice there. This is a totally different situation. So different application of the skill. So that's what I try and do, but can
you also address, while we're at it, can you address once and for all the poke check myth?
Oh my God. That's the funniest one, man. So like mainly with goalies, but obviously people use it with defensemen anyway. But the poke check myth is like any stick handling move within poke check reach is therefore 100% stopped by a poke check. And what they fail to recognize is, like hitting, poke checking is a skill. It's very difficult to do. And when you miss, you're highly exposed. So it's like, it's so insane. But like anytime, whether it's me or whether it's an NHL or whatever, if you're like near the blue paint making a move like Patrick Kane does all the time, it's like, oh, poke check would have stopped it. And you're like, oh, gee, I like you're probably ready to do NHL goaltending training. Like you should tell Marc-Andre Fleury that he should have poke checked. He probably didn't know that was an option. Like, geez.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Unacceptable. But you watch a lot of hockey, and you're very aware of like new moves and stuff like that. There's so many young players coming in every year, and the skills level keeps getting, I feel, very higher and higher. And what are your favorite players? Who are your favorite players to watch, now and the ones coming up, and who are the guys you like to dissect their game and why?
Yeah, I think the top ones now would be Patrick Kane, number one, Matt Barzal, Elias Pettersson. Those would probably be like my top three guys. Obviously a little bit biased like Taves just because I watch him so much. Yeah. I do love his game because I love Datsyuk with how he was a two-way player. And I really love that about Taves as well, as he contributes on both areas, but is still able to put up points. I think that's like one of the underrated things about those players is you're like, oh, Taves doesn't put up Kane points, but he's a different player than Kane, different role. And he's playing a 200-foot game and very good on the giveaway takeaway ratio chart. So yeah, those would I guess be the top guys. Like Barkov, like watching him a lot as well. But pretty much anyone who's elite in the skating stick handling department. Braden Point, who is the same Barzal to me. Those guys are like mirror images of each other. And when they were playing in the playoffs against each other, I was so excited because I'm like, man, it's like bizarro world out here because they've built their whole skill set on the same blueprint. It seems like they're doing circles, crossovers, their stick handling's great, their vision's great, both great playmakers.
And yet though one of them was drafted in the first round and one of them was drafted in the third, if I'm correct, round. So why is that?
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't remember when the point draft was or whatever, but it's obviously back then it's like you're just going off of what they're doing in juniors. And I was paying attention to Barzal in juniors, so I knew why he went so high.
That was the year that Boston had 3 first-round picks in a row.
Yeah,
they got like Zboril, Senyshyn, and DeBrusk passing over Connor, Barzal, Shabbat.
Crazy. Yeah.
So that's just just insane.
That's the way it is, though. Hindsight's 2020, but those guys are incredible to watch.
Yeah, that's crazy. As we're approaching the end of this, and really enjoyed, but I think we've been through it all. I wanted to ask you because we talked about Pavel Datsyuk. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, recently, or not recently, briefly. I think it was 2013 or 2014. Just at a Red Wings practice, they practice at UBC. I work there, so I got the opportunity to be the first one there. Gave him a fist bump as he went onto the ice. I wouldn't say I met him. I didn't get to talk to him. But I took what'll forever go down in the history books as one of the most legendary pictures because I'm next to him and I'm smiling ear to ear, and he's got the Russian smile, which looks kind of like he's upset to see me. He looked angry, and I'm just like the most excited kid ever. Yeah. But it was amazing just watching him do his thing in practice, man.
Yeah, the Russian smile it looks like someone being hungry and annoyed. That's what the Russian smile looks like.
That's the best. Yeah.
I'd rather not be here. That's the Russian smile.
Yeah.
He's still got it. Have you seen his backhand?
Oh yeah.
And he's 40 something now. Is he 43? Yeah.
That game he had 2 sick backhanders in it. It was insane.
That's crazy. I can't believe he's still playing and doing those things at that age. It's just Jagger's got to be like, what can you be like? Yeah. I thought I was the only over 40.
Yeah. He's got some competition.
Pavel, thanks for doing this. It's been quite a pleasure. I think the last thing I would go to is if there are any kids listening right now working on their skills, what are the things you'd like to tell the kids, like, hey, you should really work on this or that? What are the things they should focus on as young hockey players? Yeah,
I think the main thing, especially because it's so easy. I love cover her face, eh?
Yeah, I don't want to be.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
Tell her it's actually audio, so she's
she's safe. But she's being good. I would say, just whether you're in your basement, whatever it is, just as you're stick handling, try and look up, try and look in multiple different directions, try to look left as you're stick handling to the right, and then try to do body movements with your stick handling at the same time. So as you are pulling the puck to the left, shift your body weight to the left while looking left. Deception comes from your body language as well as where you're looking and where the puck is moving, all selling like you're going to go one direction. So if you can do all those things, you can do them in your basement, practice them standstill, practice them with moderate movement as well. And then when you get to the ice, try and do them at speed with edge work. And the better you get those things, like you look at Pedersen, and he has to do very little to throw guys off and get them to almost trip on their own ankles.
Yep.
But he does them very, very well. He sells them well. So that's something you could easily do at your home, but you really have to be, when I say like looking up, like actually picking your eyes up and your head up and looking around, you really fight not look at the puck at all, which is tough to do at a young age for sure.
Those are very good pointers for any age.
Any age. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. Pavel, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure having you on. Next time you come to Montreal, do not limit yourself to Laval.
There we go.
The local Joe Laval it's the how do we call it? Laval is synonym with douchebag. Those are the jokes in the area. It's a douchebag, hotbed or what have you. So you need to come to town.
All right.
And if you're looking for some beer leagues around town to work on your French,
there we go. Yeah, I need that.
We'll have you on.
I love it, man.
And we'll have you on.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Stay on just for a few seconds as Sam stops the recording. But then again, thanks for coming on, man.
All right. Thank you.
Wow, quel épisode plaisant à faire. Merci énormément à Pavel qui a pris le temps, qui est un gars super sympathique, très, très généreux, très souriant. Vous l'avez peut-être entendu le sourire dans sa voix. Donc, ouais, vraiment smart gars, en espérant peut-être un jour le recroiser à Montréal. Qui sait? En attendant, allez vous abonner à notre Patreon sur patreon.com/Drette. Profitez 5% de rabais en vous abonnant d'une shot pour l'année. Boom! Et ainsi nous permettre de continuer de vous donner des épisodes que j'ose croire, si vous êtes rendu jusqu'ici, vous appréciez. Donc voilà, allez sur notre Patreon. Fun in the sun, disait Danny Lagacé. OK, ça c'est mon cue out. Bonne semaine. OK, bye-bye.